I can see why they say viewer discretion is advised for this episode of Reasonable Doubt. What's up, y'all? Welcome to the Lawrence Support Science broadcast discussing episode 4 of Reasonable Doubt. And I just want to say this right here before we get started. My heart goes out to every woman that has been in Chanel's shoes. You know, a woman that has been abused by a low down, dirty man. No man, point blank, period, should ever put his hands on another woman. I know there's countless of women, unfortunately, every single day in America that are facing or going through something like domestic violence. So my heart goes out to any woman that is currently facing that right there. This episode was absolutely heavy. I had to pause it myself. And I'm a man. I'm like, man, this episode is really, really deep. But before we get started, it'd be greatly appreciated if you guys could hit the subscribe button, like, and please do not forget to comment. Let's get into Reasonable Doubt, y'all. So, Reasonable Doubt, on this episode right here, we basically got a chance to look at the past relationships between Chanel and JT. We got a chance to see how their story started from the beginning, right? And of course, you know, Chanel, you know, she's in this jail cell and she's having these flashbacks. But yo, I gotta ask y'all this question. We all saw the episode last night. Before we go even further, I gotta ask y'all this question. Who do y'all think Chanel is protecting? Because we saw the end that somebody basically hit JT and basically knocked him out, killed him, right? So we hear a female voice. My hunch is that it has to be Chanel's friend. I think her name was Sally. That is who I'm going with, because if you notice, she was like, yo, we got to put up the house for Chanel. We got to help her out. She was so frantic. I understand it's your friend. I understand that. But I don't know, for me personally, I don't know if I can put up my house for one of my homeboys. I'm like, well, we get that GoFundMe page. I mean, we can share that. But me putting up my house, my mortgage for you, I don't know. But y'all let me know in the comments. You know, I think it was a friend. Everybody on social media saying it could be the friend, Sally. It could be one of her daughters. It could have been Adrian. He might have became the knight in shining armor for her. Y'all let me know down in the comments. But as we carry on, you know, Chanel is having these flashbacks about JT, right? And we know that Jax and Corey Cash, they end up coming up with the idea to basically, you know, let's have a interview, like a one-on-one sit-down interview, basically to soften up the situation when it comes to Chanel. Like, we want to lighten up people's hearts, right? That was, I believe it's Corey Cash idea. Now that man, Corey Cash, that man is hitting everything that is walking. There's a journalist there that is going to interview Chanel, and we do find out that her and Corey, they was in a little situationship, right? I'm like, Corey, man, you knocking down everything out here, ain't you? Golly, boy. But anyway, and not to mention, you know, Jax tells her that, you know, this would be a good idea, but if you can't go through with it, I completely understand. But Chanel decides to do the one-on-one sit down, right? And we end up seeing Chanel and JT. Now, you know, JT was moved by Chanel because he never seen a woman, you know, take on, a black woman in particular, take on the role that she did when it comes to her. I think she was working at some type of agency or something like that. I know they was doing a photography session, right? Now, Chanel, I'm gonna let you know, when you saw JT with that blonde stripe in his head, that should have been a no-no. That should have been a red flag right there, sister. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. The afro is cool, but that one long blonde stripe is not cutting it. What are we doing? What are we doing, JT? What are we doing here? Anyway, he was putting the moves on Chanel, you know, and he's like, listen, I want to take you out to dinner. They go to dinner. They fall in love. As time goes on, they end up getting married. And, you know, a lot of times when you're in relationships, you end up telling some of your deepest, darkest secrets because you think that you won't get betrayed, that it won't flip on you, right? And it turns out that Chanel didn't realize she was marrying a monster, right? Because we saw him, you know, calling her fat, and she ended up saying to him, like I said earlier, like how, you know, she was saying, I used to get teased back in the day for being big, right? He took that, very manipulative, right? He took that, he put that on her. And then They got into an argument. She's like, I want some help around here, basically. I'm having to take care of this newborn. Like, yo, you can help me take out the trash. He's like, nah, you got it. You got it. And that is when they kind of got into their first physical altercation. And from there, it has been a complete nightmare for Chanel. Getting back to the interview, unfortunately, it went off the rails, literally, right? Because at the same time for Corey, this interview and this case right here is going to put him into a whole nother stratosphere. So that's why he's so heavy on making sure everything is right with this case, right? And Chanel tells the lady that, like, listen, you picked me apart for several hours. I'm going to tell my side of the story. But Chanel does that. But at the same time, this is the part that got me. The dude who Chanel was messing around with, Adrian, right? Now, Adrian and JT supposed to be boys, right? How in the world you gonna smash her at the wedding? That is wild, my boy. That is wild right there. So, for Adrian, for him, we end up meeting the business owner that him and JT all went into business together with, and he's missing $30 million. And it's up to Adrian to get this money. But Buddy been playing around. He ended up getting slapped. I was like, oh, no. Oh, no. Where's Dr. Umar at when we need him? Because he just said, I was like, nah, bro, that's wild. So he's in deep water trying to get his money up, right? But getting back to Chanel, the interview, I thought, started off wrong. It started off rocky. Well, I'm going to say rocky. It started off rocky. But then it kind of got back on track when she took charge of the interview. And there also was a bombshell that was dropped that JT basically had another woman pregnant. And it's basically like a side chick type vibe that's going on right now. The thing about Chanel, she says, I can no longer protect this man from what he has done to me, right? And Jax, being Jax, right, ends up asking to call the interview off, right? Because she wants to protect her friend. She's having these panic attacks. Of course, it's too much for Jax. And one thing that we do know, Jax is always going to step in for her friend and ambush Corey at the same time, right? Not cool. Let's transition on to Lewis for a second also. Now, Lewis and his son, they're bonding. And, his son has been playing basketball, but he wants to kind of make a little change, right? He wants to go into theater. He wants to go into acting. And Lewis says some triggering words to his son, right? Not to mention when his son tells, the rest of school that he's trying to do this, he gets into a fight with this one boy at school. The boy basically ends up calling him gay because he's about to go into theater and men should be going into theater. That's what the boy thinks, right? So now Louis' son is triggered. He gets into a fight, by the way. Now Louis' son is triggered by the words that his father said earlier, and he's also triggered by this boy. And Louis apologized to his son. He's like, listen, I didn't mean it like that, because the boy wants to take a different direction. Even Jax was like, listen, the boy ain't that good. So as far as basketball, I'm like, yo, Jax, how you gonna play your son like that? But anyway, the son is like, cool, it is what it is. I need some time alone. So he did that. And of course, with Lewis, there could be some drama on the way, potential baby on the way for Lewis. It ain't looking good for him. I try to root for Lewis, but Lewis is going to be a thorn, it looks like, in Jazz's side, unfortunately. So that is this episode of Reasonable Doubt. Everybody wants to know, who is Chanel protecting? Who is Chanel protecting? I said my thoughts earlier. Y'all let me know below in the comments, y'all. And as always, thank you for tuning into the Lawrence Report.